The first time people saw the farm, they laughed. The paint was peeling from the old wooden house like tired skin. The red barn leaned to one side as if it had given up on standing straight years ago. Rusted fencing surrounded dry grass, and an ancient tractor sat half buried in dirt. The entire property looked forgotten by time. And standing in front of it was a former Navy SEAL with a duffel bag in one hand, and a loyal dog sitting quietly beside him. To everyone else, it looked like the saddest investment anyone could make. But no one knew that beneath that broken farm, a secret worth $11 million was waiting to be found. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that prove life can change in unexpected ways, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more people. The man's name was Daniel Carter. For 15 years, Daniel had served in the most dangerous places on Earth. Dusty deserts, frozen mountains, and dark nights filled with the sound of helicopters and distant gunfire. As a Navy SEAL, he had faced things most people could never imagine. But the war followed him home. After leaving the military, the world felt too quiet and too loud at the same time. Crowded streets made him uneasy. Loud noises made his heart race. Sleep rarely came without memories. The only constant in his life was Rex. Rex was a Belgian Malinois who had served alongside Daniel during his final missions overseas. The dog had saved Daniel's life more than once. When Daniel retired, Rex retired too. They were both survivors. And survivors needed somewhere to start again. Daniel found the farm by accident while scrolling through an online property listing late one night. The price caught his attention first. $1. He thought it had to be a mistake. But it wasn't. The farm had once belonged to a quiet old man named Harold Whitaker who had lived there alone for decades. When Harold passed away, he had no family left to claim the land. The county eventually listed the property for $1 just to get someone to take responsibility for it. The place had been abandoned for years. People warned Daniel not to buy it. They said the house was falling apart. The barn could collapse any day. The land was dry and useless. Some even joked that the property looked haunted. But Daniel didn't care. After everything he had been through, a quiet place far from crowded cities sounded perfect. So he bought the farm. The day Daniel arrived, the sky was gray and the air smelled like rain. He parked his old truck by the wooden gate and stepped out slowly. Rex jumped down beside him, scanning the open land with alert eyes. The property stretched farther than Daniel expected. Tall pine trees surrounded the land like silent guards. The grass swayed gently in the wind. The old farmhouse stood at the center, worn but stubborn. It wasn't beautiful. But it was peaceful. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something close to calm. The first few weeks were hard. The roof leaked during storms. The plumbing barely worked. The electricity failed every other day. Daniel spent long hours fixing broken boards, clearing weeds, and repairing fences. Money was tight. His military savings were small, and most of his tools were second-hand. Some nights he ate simple canned meals while sitting on the farmhouse porch, watching the sun disappear behind the trees. Neighbors sometimes drove by slowly just to look. They shook their heads when they saw him working on the old place. Some pitied him. Some thought he had made the worst decision of his life. But Daniel didn't care what they thought. The farm gave him something he had been missing for a long time. Purpose. Every morning he woke up early with Rex already waiting by the door. They walked the property together, checking fences and clearing brush. Rex loved the land. The dog ran freely across the fields, nose to the ground, chasing scents carried by the wind. He seemed happier there than he had been anywhere else. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, the farm began to change. Daniel repaired parts of the barn and patched the farmhouse roof. He planted a small garden and built a sturdy fence around it to keep animals away. It wasn't perfect. But it was progress. And progress meant everything. One cool autumn afternoon, something strange happened. Daniel was fixing a broken wooden beam inside the barn while Rex wandered outside. The dog suddenly started barking loudly. Not his usual alert bark. This was different. Sharp. Urgent. Daniel walked out to see what had caught Rex's attention. The dog was standing near the far corner of the barn where the ground dipped slightly. Rex scratched at the dirt aggressively, tail stiff, ears forward. Daniel frowned. "What is it, boy?" Rex kept digging. At first, Daniel assumed the dog had found a buried bone or some small animal hiding underground. But the scratching didn't stop. Within minutes, Rex had created a small hole in the dirt. And then something metallic appeared beneath the soil. Daniel knelt down and brushed away more dirt with his hands. A piece of rusted steel. At first he thought it was part of an old farm tool. But the metal was flat and smooth, almost like a lid. Curious, Daniel grabbed a shovel and started digging. The soil was packed tightly, as if something large had been buried there many years ago. It took nearly an hour before the full shape emerged. It was a heavy steel hatch. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. The hatch had a thick handle and strong hinges, the kind designed to protect something valuable, or secret. For a moment he just stared at it. What in the world was buried under this farm? The hatch was locked with an old iron mechanism that had rusted with age. Daniel spent another hour working carefully with tools until the lock finally cracked open. The sound echoed strangely across the quiet field. Rex stepped back as Daniel slowly pulled the hatch upward. A dark opening appeared beneath it. Cold air drifted out from the underground space. Daniel grabbed a flashlight and shined it inside. A narrow metal ladder disappeared into darkness. His instincts from years in the military told him to be cautious. Old underground spaces could be dangerous. Weak structures, toxic air, or worse. But curiosity pushed him forward. Daniel descended the ladder slowly, Rex waiting anxiously above. The beam of his flashlight moved across concrete walls and a small underground room. Then the light fell on something unexpected. Rows of heavy steel boxes. Daniel froze. Dust covered everything, but the boxes looked strong and secure. Each one had thick locks and labels that had faded over time. His mind raced. Carefully, he approached the first box and forced the old lock open. Inside were stacks of documents, gold coins, and sealed envelopes. His hands trembled as he opened another box. More coins. More documents. And then bundles of old cash preserved in airtight plastic. Daniel sat back in shock. This wasn't just hidden savings. This was a vault. Over the next few hours, he examined the contents carefully. Gold coins from decades past. Rare collectibles. Government bonds. And stacks of carefully preserved currency. When Daniel finally finished estimating the value based on the documents he found, the number seemed impossible. $11 million. Hidden beneath a $1 farm. The old owner, Harold Whitaker, had apparently spent his entire life quietly collecting rare coins, gold, and financial bonds. Instead of trusting banks, he had built a hidden underground vault to protect everything. And somehow, the secret had been lost when he passed away. Daniel climbed back out of the hatch with shaking hands. Rex greeted him excitedly, tail wagging. The dog had no idea what he had just discovered. But without Rex, the vault might have remained buried forever. Daniel sat in the grass beside his loyal companion as the sun began to set. The orange light spread across the farm, illuminating the old barn and farmhouse in warm colors. For the first time since returning from war, Daniel felt tears in his eyes. Not because of the money, but because life had finally given him something unexpected. Hope. The discovery changed everything, but not in the way people expected. Daniel didn't rush to buy luxury cars or leave the farm. Instead, he honored the quiet life Harold Whittaker had lived. He carefully worked with lawyers and historians to document the collection and legally claim the inheritance tied to the property. Much of the money came from rare coins and bonds that had gained incredible value over decades. News eventually spread across the small county. The man everyone pitied for buying a $1 farm had discovered a hidden fortune. People who once laughed now spoke with amazement. But Daniel remained the same. He repaired the farm properly, restored the old barn, and expanded the land into a small working ranch. He created programs that allowed struggling veterans to come work on the farm while rebuilding their lives. For many of them, the quiet fields became a place of healing. And Rex became the unofficial guardian of the ranch. Visitors loved the loyal dog who had uncovered the secret that changed everything. Years later, the farm looked completely different. Green fields stretched across the land. The barn stood strong again. The farmhouse had been restored with care, keeping its original charm. But Daniel's favorite place was still the wooden porch. Every evening he sat there with Rex beside him, watching the sunset fall over the land that had given them both a second chance. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. And before we finish, I have a small request for you. Comment the word hope if you believe life can surprise us when we least expect it. Because sometimes the things that look broken, worthless, or forgotten are actually hiding something priceless beneath the surface. And sometimes all it takes to uncover that treasure is loyalty, patience, and a good dog who never stops digging.